Welcome back to the Cinematic Flight Reports. After arriving in London aboard the A380's inaugural in the first apartment, I will now step back on board and return to Abu Dhabi in the residence. The flight is scheduled to leave Heathrow at 9:30 AM and is set to arrive in the UAE just over 7 hours later. The residence by Etihad has returned after all. London. It's July of 2023, and with temperatures in the mid-20s, this year's peak of summer. After landing in the UK's capital merely 2 days ago, my girlfriend Ashira and I had spent a weekend in the city before I would now fly back to the UAE. We stayed at the Conrad London St James, and the hotel's ideal location close to the Houses of Parliament left us within walking distance of many of London's sights and attractions. Being back in London also meant being back on Westminster Bridge, the exact place where the first episode of the Cinematic Flight Reports took off way back in 2019. And today, it once again was the eve before a much anticipated flight. After years of waiting, Etihad's residence, the world's only 3-room suite on board a commercial aircraft, was now finally within reach. The A380's return offered an opportunity I couldn't miss, and I'm thrilled to showcase my experience in this unique cabin. Enjoy. As much as the 2 previous days had been a warm side of summer, the next morning, London went back to its notoriously cloudy skies, and small raindrops formed on every surface. Leaving the Conrad and cruising through the empty streets of Westminster, I felt a little bit like on Christmas morning in my childhood days. Anything was possible, and the excitement was way too big to sleep in. Despite my flight's 9:30 departure time, I checked out and took off in my pre-arranged airport transfer around 4:30 AM, which is ridiculously early. But as the drive to the city 2 days ago had taken well over 90 minutes, I was not taking any chances. And I would rather spend time waiting at the airport than on the road, missing out on a single second of the experience. So I reclined my seat and leaned back as we rode along the M4 motorway, straight towards Europe's busiest airport. Since 2009, all of Etihad's 4 daily flights out of Heathrow leave from Terminal 4, where the airline also operates its own lounge. Currently the only one outside of Abu Dhabi, and after a brief terminal change during COVID, now once again the pre-departure home to all of Etihad's first and business class passengers.
Do you need like a push trolley?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna need one.
Yeah, we're gonna go back for you.
Cool, I'm gonna get the rest.
Stepping out of the vehicle, the bluish clouds and chilly morning breeze were a gentle reminder that I was indeed ahead of schedule. I put my bags on one of the trolleys and pushed towards the terminal entrance. Inside, it was already busy as usual. Looking at the departure board, I quickly found out that Etihad's counters were to open at 6 AM, which would be a 45-minute wait. Yet also yesterday's 9:30 departure was still on the board, which raised my curiosity. So without further ado, I headed over to Etihad's designated check-in counters in Sector C. There, to my surprise, I found all the ground staff already engaged in their pre-shift briefing. At the same time, passengers had already formed a queue as well. Apparently, Etihad's only A380, which reached London the previous morning, arrived with a technical problem and had to be grounded, leaving it unable to return to Abu Dhabi. Staff told me that at this very moment, Etihad still had more than 300 passengers in hotels all around Heathrow, and with this flight being fully booked as well, they would open counters half an hour early to reserve extra time to also assist yesterday's passengers, as some might come to the airport to seek for help. This allowed me to check in at the designated first-class desk just moments later, where I was relieved to learn that Etihad had activated its second A380 a few days early to take over today's service.
Is there any electronics in the bag, sir?
I then received my boarding pass, which was presented in this beautiful golden envelope showing Etihad's residence branding. I was also introduced to Andy, one of Etihad's station managers, who took my cabin bag and escorted me through the airport. Etihad reserves this exclusive attention for all guests of the residence, thereby guaranteeing a seamless experience from check-in to takeoff. As we were exceptionally early, Andy asked me if I would like to see the plane land. But it's coming any minute, right?
Yes, it is. So I wanted to stay up here by the window.
He suggested walking past the lounge for now and guided me toward an airport area I didn't even know existed. Near gate 15 up the staircase, Terminal 4 has an observation deck called View Heathrow, and here you can enjoy 270-degree panoramic views of the airport's southern runway, and that was exactly where Etihad's A380 was going to land. It's open to all passengers in the terminal, yet Andy and I were the only two people up there taking advantage. The views were truly spectacular, and I could have stayed there for hours. Watching aircraft after aircraft touch down in today's light rain was just beautiful, and with just a few more ahead, Etihad's second A380 was just about to complete its first scheduled service since the pandemic. It was about to arrive any moment now, and then its silhouette appeared out of the grey skies. With a textbook landing 11 minutes early, the 7-year-old aircraft had arrived and would now be taxiing to the gate, where Andy and I would already be waiting. I later reviewed flight logs and discovered that it was only thanks to Etihad's fast decision-making and exceptional efforts that an A380 service on this day was possible in the first place, as the airline itself welcomed the aircraft back home to Abu Dhabi just 10 days before from a 3-month-long refurbishment in China. It performed 4 takeoffs and landings from Abu Dhabi airport on the previous day alone in order to get our testing done in time. So after getting a bit unlucky with my migraine on the flight in, I definitely struck gold now, as an aircraft change would otherwise have disrupted all plans once again, as that would have meant a downgrade to first class. With the A380 at its final parking position, it was then time to head to the lounge, which is located just across from gate 10A. From there, you can either take the stairs or the elevators, as the lounge is located 1 level below. You will then be welcomed at the desk, and after checking in, can enter the lounge on your right. Yet Andy asked me to turn left towards a door at the end of the hallway, which directly leads into the lounge's private VIP room, allowing for the most low-profile entry possible. Offering private living and dining for 2, the room features typical Etihad design elements and is available for your entire stay. While it is usually bookable at a fee, it comes with a residence package and is blocked accordingly, so you can be sure that it is waiting for you as you arrive. What it lacks in views, it makes up in service, and I was promptly welcomed by lounge staff and asked for my breakfast preference. F&B options are plentiful, and you may scan the QR code for the latest offering ahead of your visit, or to have a look at the full bar menu.
And what would you like to eat?
I would like to eat the eggs benedict with salmon.
With salmon?
Salmon, yes.
Of course.
And maybe also the waffles.
And waffles.
Yeah, so we're going to do that.
With my order placed, I stepped out of the room to look at the rest of the lounge, which was still rather empty due to the early hours. Behind a spaced-out bar and lounge area lies a dining room that featured a hot and cold buffet with plenty of breakfast choices. With a large selection of pastries, fruit and fresh juices, it certainly lived up to the feel-good or guilt-free approach that Etihad takes on board, and that is a great thing to have, as most passengers will not have the time for a proper breakfast before heading to the airport in the morning. All of the lounge's guests can use it regardless of their class of travel, and that also includes all menu items. Those will be prepared to order and served tableside, and throughout the day, you may choose from the open bar. From there, I walked through the sliding door back to my seat as my ordered eggs benedict were about to be served, alongside my choice of coffee and juice.
Fantastic.
very much. Great, thank you.
The dish looked great, and the eggs on top of the English muffins were poached to perfection. After all, this is an airport lounge and not a restaurant, and I think that within their means, Etihad offers an elevated lounge service that overall leans more towards first than business class, and it's great to see that all guests can benefit alike. The experience on the ground was even better than I thought it would be, since the personal escort, the private VIP room and the a la carte breakfast all were things I had not taken into account beforehand. To celebrate the occasion, I also went for a glass of champagne with the waffles, which was promptly served. And the minute I had enjoyed this sweet and rich treat, I gathered my things and got ready to leave the lounge, as I wanted to be the first passenger to board the aircraft. Upstairs at the gate, it was now just 10 minutes to boarding time, and Andy was on his way to ask the cabin crew for a favor. As a guest of the residence, you're first aboard the upper deck anyways, yet as he knew that I wanted to be on board as early as possible, he went the extra mile and arranged exclusive access to the air bridge, where we would stay and wait until the crew had finished their final preparations. This privilege allowed me to take a look at the aircraft up close, and standing by the door, I for the first time ever had the time to notice all the little details that I'd usually just miss walking past. This would also be the moment that Andy and I would part ways, and I have to say that this service definitely levels up the experience. Andy handled it all with such ease and routine that you wouldn't even notice that I was only the second guest to fly the residence from Heathrow since the aircraft had returned. He also introduced me to the crew, and I was welcomed by Amanda, who would take over from here. And shortly after, I was allowed to step inside. Once on board, I turned left and made my way down the aisle, passing the beautiful first apartments on either side, and the freshly overhauled cabin impressed with perfect finishes and shiny leather across the board. And at the very end, I would once again turn left into my suite. This is Etihad's residence. Upon entering the suite, I first checked for a place to store my trolley. As I stepped on board the aircraft, I had already asked for permission to film on board, and just like on the inaugural, I was allowed to do so. I quickly discovered that it was best to push any luggage right under the bed, where you will find enough space for 2 trolleys and a small backpack. Any additional personal items can be stored inside the ottoman in the living room. With that taken care of, I walked over to my seat, sat down, and took a moment to let it all sink in. The sheer scale of the residence is truly remarkable, and sitting in one of those massive lounge chairs for the first time made me feel pretty small. This dream of mine had finally come true.
Hey. Hi.
Good morning. How is everything so far?
It's fantastic. It's a lot better than I thought, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
And you know, everything looks, all the refurbishments, the new leather, it's
It's really nice,
It's
isn't
brilliant.
it? Would you like to start off with something to drink? Can I help you make
Yes.
some champagne?
I will do champagne, please.
Of course, I'll be right back with the champagne.
Thank you.
Just as the first apartment was on the way in, the cabin's appearance was absolutely flawless. All surfaces and compartments looked brand new, and whatever wear and tear they might have picked up over the years, there wasn't a trace left of it. The experience would of course be different from the day it was launched, but the hard product was as impressive as can be. Service was off to a promising start as well, as after the warm welcome on board, my glass of champagne was about to arrive. Compared to many other airlines that will not offer their best champagne as a welcome drink outside their home airport to save on taxes, I was happy to see that Etihad has chosen not to cheapen the experience like this. Exclusively for guests of the residence, the airline serves a special treat. The Femme de Champagne from the champagne house of Duval-le-Roi. The 2002 vintage of this Grand Cru champagne is a testament of winemaking artistry. With 20% of the vines vinified in oak barrels, 50 were aged on the lees for an astonishing 18 years, and the result is an elegant silky smooth champagne with a light golden yellow color and a fine bubbly mousse. As a Brut Nature, it does not contain any added sugars, and that further uncovers its minerality and enhances the richness of aromas. This is a champagne that needs some time in the glass to fully develop, and when enjoyed with mindfulness, will reward your efforts with more and more flavors. A great match for the residents. Shortly after, I received my Wi-Fi voucher and IFE headset, as well as the 2 menus for today's flight. For the residents, they sit inside a heavy leather binding, and on today's morning flight the airline will serve lunch, followed by breakfast options as you would close into Abu Dhabi later on. Of course, with Etihad this is merely a suggestion, as you can match any of the 4 starters and 5 mains with your favorite snack or dessert and eat at any time of the flight, or even build your own dish from the lounge and grill section on the right. And although food and wine are basically identical to the selection served in first class, special touches like the excellent champagne, as well as an upgraded caviar service, are exclusive to the residents. So is the service you receive, as the flight attendant that welcomes you to the residence upon boarding will exclusively take care of you for the entire flight. Before taxing, I then also received the amenity kit, as well as both loungewear and slippers. As an addition to the regular set, it came with a matching black bathrobe. With that, Amanda returned to the suite to take my order for the flight. Just as in first class, placing your order before takeoff in the residence is a very detailed affair. From the after takeoff aperitif all the way to every detail of the meal service, you can pre-select your favorite dish and arrange beverages accordingly. With so much to choose from, Amanda was happy to assist and offered a little bit of guidance.
Or you can have it from the lounge and grill signature grills. The beef tenderloin and the juicy salad.
Okay, we'll do that. So I'll take the tenderloin with some seasonal vegetables. Let's try the creamy mushroom sauce today.
Or how would you like the beef tenderloin?
Well, it's very hard, but let's try medium rare.
Medium rare. Medium rare is okay, but
No. For my choice of steak, I was encouraged to provide my favorite temperature, and for me that is medium rare, a real challenge in flight. With that done, we also turned to the wines, and in addition to my choice of Bordeaux for the steak, Amanda recommended a light Pinot Noir alongside my beef carpaccio starter. Sounds wonderful.
May I clear your champagne for you?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll be back shortly once we push back, just to make sure that everything's secure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, my name is Anna and I'm your queue manager on this flight to Abu Dhabi. We hope you have settled in and myself comfortable with the members of our Etihad Kids program. Welcome back.
With the security video, we were pushed back and started taxiing towards the runway. If you have ever departed from Heathrow, you will know that it will either take a long or a very long time, and today we were stuck in traffic. With 7 million passengers the previous month alone, the airport is one of the world's busiest, and with just 2 runways available, the slightest hiccup can set off a massive chain reaction. I once came across the cheesy phrase that when Heathrow sneezes, the world catches a cold, and sitting here, I could totally understand. On average, the airport handles an incredible 1,300 takeoffs and landings a day, and now we were about to do our part. Sitting on the plane's left-hand side, I got a good look at the airport's true scale. Its 4 terminals and cargo hubs spread over a massive 12 square kilometers. To put it in other words, that's a total of 192 air bridges and 97 remote stands for passenger aircraft. Impressive. Minutes later we were above the clouds, and our long taxiing had taken its toll. While we were climbing, I turned on the A380's tail camera and enjoyed the sights of blue skies after this cloudy morning. Shortly after we reached cruising altitude, Amanda then entered the suite and served a classic tray of nuts and olives before returning with my ordered aperitif of champagne. Now in the air, I opted for a glass of the Rosé Prestige, a medium-bodied cuvée of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes sourced exclusively from Premier Cru vineyards. It is vibrant and fruity, and even if a deep dive into tasting notes is not your thing, you will easily spot the red berries on the nose, as well as the creamy finish and slight bitterness that makes it a great pairing with food. The Vera Wang designed crystal champagne flutes really let it shine and sent beautiful strings of pearls to the surface. Just like the Brut champagne before takeoff, it's a good choice and fits the occasion well. And as this was my first flight in the residence, I now received a tour of its features. Starting with the console by the windows, where you will find charging and connectivity options, as well as a touchscreen control panel for anything from window shades to seat and ottoman controls. I learned that the two seats could not only lean backward, but also the ottoman could move in, making it easy to create a comfortable lounge position. Here you will also find a hidden minibar that, contrary to Etihad's competitors, is actively chilled. The other two compartments offer additional storage space, so you can keep the living area tidy throughout the flight. The residence covers a total floor space of almost 12 square meters, and a big chunk of that is reserved for the bedroom. In here, you have a bed with a real mattress covered in luxurious Daxiana linen. The 27-inch TV offers you the full variety of e-box entertainment, and you'll find a remote and light controls on one side, and a panic button, as well as a second headphone jack on the other. And don't get fooled by the curved ceiling and narrow doorway, as the bed is a stunning 47.5 inches wide and 82 inches long, which is 120 by 208 centimeters, and that is well big enough for two people. Right in the middle between the two rooms, you have your personal lavatory and shower. Here you have the same features that you will find in the first-class shower next door, such as a magnifying vanity mirror and hairdryer, yet the lavatory's size is noticeably bigger, and so is the shower cabin on your right-hand side. Just as in first class, you have the same 5 minutes of running water at your disposal, and it can be prepared for you by the crew at any time throughout the flight. Outside, the personal wardrobe concluded the tour, and with that, I was all set and ready to enjoy my time in the world's only 3-room suite in the sky. With the sliding doors closed, the residence now offered almost total privacy, and I was ready to put my newly acquired knowledge into action. With the touch of a button, I moved one of the lounge seats forward before doing the same with the ottoman. I then repeated both of those on the other side, and the result was an unbelievably wide bench, which is perfect for watching TV, as you can comfortably put your feet up and lean back. The monitor is 32 inches in size, and as you are rather close, it still feels big. After my breakfast in the lounge, I was not yet hungry enough for lunch, so I grabbed the noise-cancelling headphones and decided to enjoy my aperitif while watching a few minutes of TV instead. You may connect your headset on either side, as the residence of course has dual audio, as it is built for 2 guests. And today, I chose to tune in to the sequel to Avatar.
Ladies and gentlemen, you need to stand on the seatbelt sign, kindly jump back to your seats and keep your seatbelt fastened. And for the captain, advice will be suspending service as we expecting some moderate turbulence shortly. Thank you.
Just like that, my stay on Pandora was extended indefinitely. I was then advised to buckle up, yet luckily I was allowed to leave the seat and ottoman in the lounge position. And while I rarely use the IFE in the air, I now had all the time in the world to do so. As you can see, movies are being cropped to fit the 16:9 screen, and that in turn lets it appear even bigger than it is. There is some glaring as the bright windows do have an impact, yet nothing too severe. And luckily the bumps that came our way were rather mild as well. With service still suspended, the minibar came in handy. Now I had also worked up an appetite and was ready for lunch, yet I still had to wait a little longer. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, the mood lighting and projections already set the ambience for the night that would await us upon landing in Abu Dhabi. Then finally the seatbelt sign turned off and I informed the crew that I would like to eat. The table slides out of the armrest and is big and heavy, so you best don't get your fingers in between the rails. Once out, it then folds open to reveal a big sturdy surface, which is covered with a tablecloth before being decked out with a custom-made Bernardo porcelain exclusive to the residence. In order to create a unique fine dining experience on board, the setting of the table is carried out with minuscule precision and attention to detail. Piece by piece, plates and silverware were assigned their place, and with the large golden plate in the center, the setting was complete. Ahead of my first course, I was then served another glass of the brut champagne. First to be offered was a selection of bread, and I went for the garlic option, which was 2 buttered pieces of brioche. The wait for the caviar though was rather long, which was also in part because the call button on my side didn't function properly. After the weather-inflicted delay before, I was a bit concerned about running out of time. With the caviar also came a surprise. Apart from blinis and half a lemon, 3 pieces of Balik-style salmon were also on the plate. As far as smoked salmon goes, this is one of the very best. First originating in Russia, the fish is cured with vinegar, salt, sugar and spices, and then cold smoked over hardwood for as long as 12 hours, giving it a unique melt-in-your-mouth quality. To me, it is an excellent pairing with a vintage champagne just as caviar, as its velvety texture and mild buttery taste agree wonderfully with the acidity of the fruit. I am an absolute fan of Balik salmon, and I'm very happy to see it being offered. Yet I wonder why Etihad would not list such a delicacy on the menu so that guests know it's there at first glance. The caviar, sitting alongside traditional condiments and a mother-of-pearl spoon, is a classic that needs no introduction and is a staple in Etihad's first-class lineup. And with the champagne as dry as the Brut Nature on offer, that's also an excellent combination. With the table cleared, Amanda then presented her recommendation to complement the starter, the Californian Pinot Noir. Wines of that grape usually come with a fruity and earthy taste, and this medium-bodied dry bottle fit the bill perfectly. Its delicate flavors should work well with my dish of beef carpaccio. On the plate in front of me was a carpaccio in the original Cipriani style, so without grana, but instead with a lemon in mayonnaise, which was hidden under the rocket salad on top. A very enjoyable dish, and even better with a touch of the provided olive oil. Served right after the starter was a palate cleanser, and that came in the form of a grapefruit sorbet. It looked delicious, yet was absolutely dreadful. I didn't mean to make this face for drama, but the sheer bitterness simply caught me off guard. I couldn't possibly finish that, so I pressed the call button and sent it back.
If you have some left, try it. I don't know how to describe it. It's so, it tastes like, I don't know, so bitter.
It's really good.
It's tough. Yeah, try it. It does clean the palate though, because you're bound to drink a lot of water after that, so that's fine.
So sweet.
That's okay.
Thank you.
How long will you need?
No, I'll be back with your wine, and then as soon as your main course is ready, I think maybe 5 minutes.
Next up would be the steak, and with that, I would now be served the full-bodied Bordeaux from Chateau Petit's Clos, a wine that I had also had on board 2 months before. And to be honest, I had expected that Etihad with the launch of the A380 would have upgraded their wine list as well. Don't get me wrong, this vintage is an okay Pauillac, but a bit of an unfortunate choice. The Chateau had just changed ownership, and 2010 was the first step up after decades where they hadn't lived up to the quality of their terroir. Only in the years after, with the addition of new grapes and constant refinement of their blend, would their wine quality be on the rise. So again, it's not a bad wine per se, it's just below what I would expect in first class. Then, my steak arrived. Served alongside some leeks, green beans and sweet potatoes, this plate is such a simple dish in composition, yet it is so hard to get right in the air. But as expected, Etihad delivered perfection. Medium rare, on the spot, and plated with vegetables that still had a bite and good flavor. Soft like butter, the steak was a real treat. The mushroom sauce was a great addition as well. To achieve a result like this, the steak had to be seared on high heat on the ground and then cooked to the preferred temperature à la minute in the oven on board, and that requires a great deal of skill and teamwork. The wine complemented the dish well. It's just that in general I think that Etihad's first class, and especially the residents, would be better served by a standout vintage from a well-established and consistent chateau in Bordeaux on top of their wine list. But that is just my 2 cents.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your captain speaking once again. We will be commencing our descent very shortly, within the next 10 to 15 minutes from now. Weather reported to be fine, clear skies, a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius.
With less than half an hour before I would have to be in my seat, I took the chance to have a shower before arrival, and so instead of serving dessert, the crew activated the controls and provided towels and amenities. Showering on board is always special, and for me, there's nothing like getting into bed right after. And that's exactly what I had in mind, even if it would just be for a little bit. While I was showering, the crew had already prepared the bedroom to best use the limited time that I had left. As I would quickly change into the provided bathrobe, they also did me the favor of arranging dessert on their dedicated breakfast tray, so that I was able to enjoy it after all. I chose a simple fruit platter alongside a cappuccino, though I honestly cared more about the experience than what would be served. I then closed the bedroom door and got comfortable in the soft linen. Imagining the residence back on 14-hour flights like in the past would really be fantastic, as you'd then get the most out of this product. As we were closing in on Abu Dhabi, I was thinking about the mere 6 hours I had just experienced and shook my head in disbelief, as it had been beyond impressive. After a long absence, the residence has returned in a truly stunning shape. The entire cabin stood out with immaculate details, from the patterns on the wall to the poltrona for leather in the living room. All of the cabin's furnishings were in absolutely perfect condition. The bedroom provides unheard of luxury on a commercial aircraft and beats any other airline's compromise of a bed with ease. Even though the menu items are almost equal to first class, there are special touches that aim to further enhance the service, which in regard to dining, is very close to perfection already. Throughout my journey from London to Abu Dhabi, I felt exceptionally well looked after, and that also is an important part of the experience. Be it on the ground by Andy or on board by Amanda and the other crew members, I felt absolutely at home, and we had a very enjoyable yet absolutely professional exchange. I know that with my cameras that is not always easy, yet today it worked naturally. In the next episode, I'll return to the residence on a red-eye flight together with my girlfriend Ashira, and we will then experience the product as it was meant to be, as a haven for two above the clouds. And with longer flights on the horizon as well, there might be even more stories to tell going forward. Once the jet bridge is docked and the doors open, you will again be welcomed by Etihad ground staff and escorted through the airport, may it be to immigration or Etihad's lounge. I know it's keen, but I'm dreaming that passengers will be able to once again connect to another A380 and fly from Abu Dhabi to the world through the carrier's network. As one of Etihad's A380's designers, Acumen, would put it, the best way to change the future is to create it. And Etihad Airways now has it at their fingertips once again to reimagine the way passengers fly. The aircraft's imminent return to New York's Kennedy Airport is a first sign that they are about to choose well. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and bye-bye.
Expected the world, but it flew away from her reach. So she ran away in her sleep and dreamed of paradise, paradise. Every time she closed her eyes. Expected the world, but it flew away from her reach, and the bullets catching her teeth. Life goes on, it gets so heavy.